You're listening to From Stillness, an audiobook for a mind in need of quiet. There's a strange kind of power in simply becoming less available. Not out of anger, not to manipulate, but out of clarity. The kind of clarity that whispers, "Not everything deserves your energy." Most of us were conditioned to think the opposite. That presence equals love. That quick replies and immediate reactions prove our worth. But here's what no one told us. What's always available is rarely valued. Sometimes the most commanding thing you can do isn't to raise your voice, it's to step back. Not as a retreat, but as an act of reclaiming your center. You've probably seen it. That unspoken shift when someone withdraws their emotional availability. Suddenly the room feels different. The silence becomes a mirror, and everyone starts seeing themselves more clearly. Why? Because we're used to control through reaction. People learn how to manage us, not by who we are, but by how predictably we respond. When you remove that lever, everything changes. Carl Jung once said that what irritates us about others reveals something unresolved within ourselves. So ask yourself, who gets uncomfortable when you stop responding immediately? Who pushes harder when you go quiet? Those moments expose not just them, but how entangled your peace might still be with their expectations. This isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming conscious. When you stop being a predictable puppet for other people's emotions, you start becoming something else, a mystery. And that mystery commands respect. You're no longer playing the role they wrote for you, you're writing your own. Withdrawal isn't weakness. When it's intentional, it's clarity in motion. It says, I'm no longer available for energy theft. And in that pause, that breath between reaction and response, you'll find something rare, your self-respect waiting patiently to be chosen. There's a kind of silence that unsettles people, not because it's empty, but because it's full of awareness. When you no longer rush to explain yourself, justify your absence, or smooth over every moment of discomfort, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop being someone others can easily read, provoke, or use to regulate their own emotions. And in that silence, your true power begins to emerge. Most people confuse silence with passivity. But the kind of silence we're speaking about here is different. It's strategic, it's alive, it's what happens when you no longer need to prove your worth with words. When you stop filling the space with explanations and begin filling yourself with presence. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming whole, not through noise, but through self-possession. Silence disrupts emotional games. The person who once pushed your buttons starts to feel unsettled because those buttons no longer work. The one who used your immediate replies for control finds themselves talking into a void. Your withdrawal doesn't just remove you physically. It removes the emotional script they relied on. And that's unsettling for anyone who built their role around your reactions. But here's the deeper truth. This silence is not for them. It's for you. It's your signal that you are no longer living in reaction mode. You are no longer leaking psychic energy in arguments that go nowhere, or in performances designed to be liked. You are choosing observation over outburst, intentional space over instant validation. And in that space, you find something rare, sovereignty. Because silence, when born from self-awareness, isn't absence. It's presence that no longer needs permission. It is how you begin to reclaim your energy, your choices, your life, one breath, one pause, one unspoken word at a time. You've been taught that saying yes is kindness, that staying quiet is respectful, that replying quickly, explaining yourself thoroughly, being the bigger person, is how you maintain peace. But what if that's not peace at all? What if that's performance? Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. It's not who we are, it's who we think we need to be. And in trying so hard to be liked, to avoid discomfort, to never rock the boat, we slowly start disappearing from our own lives. Every time you force a smile when you want to scream, every time you apologize just to end the argument, every time you say yes to avoid being seen as difficult, you abandon yourself. And here's the hidden cost. The world doesn't respect the person who is always available, always agreeable. It uses them. Not maliciously, always, but habitually. Predictability breeds complacency. When people know you'll say yes, they stop valuing your yes. When you always respond, they stop listening. When you never say no, they stop asking. What's left is a shell, someone present in everyone's life but absent in their own. And the truth is, your constant agreeability isn't about kindness, it's about fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of conflict. Fear of not being good enough without the performance. But your worth is not in your usefulness. You don't need to earn belonging by being digestible. So ask yourself, how many of your daily actions are truly yours? How many of your words are reflex, not reflection? The journey of individuation, becoming whole, starts when you stop performing and start choosing. Not from guilt, not from fear, but from clarity. The next time you feel the urge to please, pause. Not everything requires your approval. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every request deserves your yes. There's a silent thief at work in your life, and it's not what you think. It's not stress, not time, not even people. It's the way you react. Carl Jung described the human psyche as a dynamic energy system, one where every thought, emotion, and choice either directs or depletes your vital energy. And if you don't take ownership of where that energy goes, the world will decide for you. Every emotional outburst, every knee-jerk defense, every need to explain yourself to people who don't actually listen, all of it burns psychic fuel. You spend entire days mentally rerunning conversations, defending yourself in imaginary arguments, or trying to decode someone's cold behavior. But here's the truth. This is not self-reflection. It's self-drainage. And what's worse, the people who trigger you most often know exactly what they're doing. They thrive on your reactions because your emotional availability is their source of power. Jung warned us, what you resist persists. So when you resist setting boundaries or delay saying no out of guilt, you become more entangled in situations that leave you feeling powerless. The more you react without clarity, the more you hand over your agency to those who know how to push your buttons. True power isn't loud. It's not about dominating a room or winning arguments. It's being able to stay rooted in your own energy while the world tries to unbalance you. It's choosing where your attention goes and protecting your inner peace like a limited currency, because it is. Start here. Notice what drains you. Is it the conversations you keep having with people who don't change? The compulsive need to clarify your intentions? The urge to respond immediately to provocation? Each one is a leak. Seal it, not with anger, but with awareness. Because when you manage your energy with precision, you no longer just survive the noise. You rise above it, unshaken. Have you ever wondered why some people can destabilize you with just a sentence, or worse, a silence? Why certain comments or behaviors instantly throw you off balance? The answer often lies not in what's said, but in what's already unresolved within you. Carl Jung called this psychic energy, the unconscious emotional charge stored in parts of yourself that haven't been fully seen, processed, or healed. And that's exactly what makes a trigger so potent. It's not the person, it's what they touch inside of you. Your impulse to react isn't always about the moment. It's about a much older story, the wound of not being enough, of not being seen, of having to earn love through compliance, explanation, performance. So when someone challenges your worth, you fight back. Not to win the argument, but to protect that fragile image you've been taught to maintain. But here's the catch. Every time you react to defend yourself, to prove yourself, to explain yourself to someone who's not listening, you're pouring energy into a battle that doesn't need to be fought. You're trying to control how the world sees you, when what truly needs control is how you respond to that world. The greatest strength doesn't lie in never being triggered. It lies in recognizing the trigger, pausing, and choosing not to play the same old emotional script. It's knowing that silence can be power, that disengagement is not weakness, and that peace isn't always polite. The moment you stop reacting to every poke, you stop being a puppet on someone else's string. When you stop trying to fix how others perceive you and start focusing on how you preserve yourself, everything shifts. Your power returns. You stop bleeding energy into performances and start reclaiming your center. You don't have to be unshakable to be strong. You just have to be aware enough not to give away your strength every time someone pushes your buttons. That awareness is where your transformation begins. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. In fact, some of the most powerful shifts happen when you say nothing at all. This is not silence born of suppression, but silence born of sovereignty, the conscious decision to no longer give energy to what does not serve your peace. In a world that thrives on noise, reaction, and immediate validation, choosing silence is a radical act of strength. It unsettles those who depend on your predictability. It breaks patterns that have kept you trapped. And most importantly, it allows your energy to return to where it belongs, with you. Carl Jung understood that silence was not the absence of communication, but a deeper form of self-possession. When you withhold your reaction, you reclaim control of the narrative. You are no longer a puppet of provocation. You stop being the emotional emergency exit for those who refuse to face their own discomfort. That moment when someone expects your anger, your explanation, your defense, and instead meets your calm withdrawal, it unsettles their system. It forces a confrontation not with you, but with themselves. Silence is clarity. It gives you space to observe rather than absorb, to choose rather than react. And in that space, patterns reveal themselves. You begin to see which people rely on your reactivity to validate their own chaos. You notice which situations drain your presence without offering anything in return. The less you respond, the more truth surfaces. But silence is not a weapon to manipulate others. It is a sanctuary, a return to your center. It's a way of refusing to fight battles that were never yours to begin with. Some people will call it coldness. Others will accuse you of changing. Let them. You are no longer available for their projections. You are available only for what aligns with your clarity, your values, your calm. This is what it means to live with sovereignty, to speak only when your words build, to move only when your actions are true, and to remain still when stillness is the highest form of power. From an early age, many of us are conditioned to believe that love, respect, and belonging must be earned through constant presence. Always available, always responsive, always saying yes. But this belief, however well-intentioned, is a trap, one that slowly depletes your identity and diminishes your value in the eyes of others. In truth, it is not constant presence that makes you loved. It is meaningful presence, chosen presence. And sometimes, it is your strategic absence that speaks the loudest. People don't value what is endlessly accessible. When you're always the first to reply, the one who always shows up, the one who always sacrifices, you become expected. And what is expected often becomes invisible. You stop being a person with needs and boundaries and become a function, a role, an emotional placeholder. And yet, this over-availability is rarely questioned. It's praised as kindness, loyalty, generosity. But look closer, and you'll see that behind the mask of being there for everyone often hides the fear of not being enough unless you're needed. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, becoming your whole, authentic self. That cannot happen if your energy is constantly dispersed into proving your worth through presence. Sometimes, disappearing for a while is what reclaims your visibility. When you're not always there to fill the silence, others are forced to listen to their own. When you're not there to soothe, to entertain, to fix, people must confront the parts of themselves they usually project onto you. You are not meant to be on call for the world's emotional emergencies. You are not a subscription service for comfort. You are a human being whose value increases when you reclaim your time, your space, your focus. The paradox is this: it's your absence, not your availability, that often makes people realize your worth. And it's in choosing when and for whom to be present that you begin to truly honor your own life. One of the most transformative lessons you can learn on the journey to inner wholeness is that not everyone deserves access to you. Not to your time, not to your presence, not even to your attention. Just as you don't allow strangers into your home without permission, you should not allow every person or every situation to enter your internal world unfiltered. Emotional boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred architecture, the framework that protects your energy, your clarity, and your self-respect. Carl Jung understood that our psychic energy is limited and must be directed with intention. Every interaction you engage in is an energetic transaction. When you allow others to constantly interrupt your peace with drama, guilt, or their unmet needs, you're essentially handing over your power in small, almost invisible pieces. And when you do this often enough, you start to lose the center of yourself. Setting boundaries begins with discernment, the ability to observe without absorbing. You don't need to answer every message immediately, attend every social invitation, or explain yourself every time you say no. The people who truly value you won't need you to burn out in order to be close to them. And those who require your constant emotional labor to stay connected were never truly aligned with your growth to begin with. This doesn't mean you isolate yourself or build walls out of bitterness. It means you learn to curate your connections with the same care that an artist chooses their palette. You start asking, who leaves me feeling more alive? Who drains me without apology? Who listens with depth? Who just wants to be heard above me? Selective attention is power. Not every argument needs your participation. Not every cry for attention deserves your response. Not every relationship needs to be saved. You are allowed to choose peace over people-pleasing, silence over explanation, distance over drama. In the end, what you protect is what will grow. Your boundaries are not just about keeping others out, they're about keeping your essence intact. There comes a point when growth demands retreat, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming your most authentic self, distinct from the masks you've worn, the roles you've played, and the expectations you've tried to meet. And sometimes that journey starts with stepping away. Strategic withdrawal is not escape. It's not running from life. It's refusing to keep living someone else's version of it. When you begin to feel that every conversation exhausts you, every environment drains you, and every interaction feels like performance, it's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a signal that something vital is waking up within you. The desire to reclaim your energy, your voice, your center. Withdrawing doesn't mean disappearing from the world. It means stepping back from the noise to hear your own voice again. It's choosing to stop chasing validation and instead observe what emerges when you're no longer performing. It's cutting ties with people who only love the version of you that serves them, not the one that seeks truth. It's releasing obligations that no longer resonate, not because you're selfish, but because you're finally ready to be real. Jung believed that individuation required separation, not forever, but for long enough to distinguish what's truly yours from what's been projected onto you. It's a shedding, a stripping away of the persona so that the self can finally emerge, raw but rooted. This is why your solitude matters. It's in this space that clarity arises, that your inner compass recalibrates. And from this stillness, your next steps are no longer reactions to the world, but expressions of who you are becoming. You don't have to announce your withdrawal. You simply begin choosing yourself. And as you do, the world will adjust, or it will resist. Either way, you'll know you're no longer available for roles that betray your becoming. In the end, this journey isn't about becoming harder, colder, or untouchable. It's about becoming clearer, more grounded, more intentional. You've spent so much of your life responding to people's expectations, to emotional chaos, to the fear of being misunderstood. But here's the truth. The version of you that is constantly reacting isn't the real you. It's a fragment shaped by survival, not by self. Carl Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. But now you've seen it. You've felt the cost of being perpetually available, of explaining yourself endlessly, of being pulled into every storm that isn't yours to weather. And you're ready to choose something different. This isn't a call to isolate. It's a call to remember that your energy is your life force, and you get to decide where it flows. Every boundary you set is a declaration that your peace is no longer negotiable. Every silent moment you hold is a message to the world that your attention is earned, not expected. And every time you choose not to react, not to explain, not to perform, you're stepping into your wholeness. You are not here to be everyone's emotional caretaker. You are not here to be consumed until you disappear. You are here to live from center, to speak when it matters, to walk away when necessary. to honor the quiet power within you. So the next time someone tries to pull you back into your old patterns, remember this. Your energy is sacred. Your silence is strength. Your absence, when chosen from awareness, speaks louder than any justification. You don't owe the world your availability. You owe yourself your integrity. And in choosing that, you finally begin to live, not as a reaction, but as a whole, intentional being.